They ghosted my daughter's birthday. No call, no text, no sorry we couldn't make it, just silence. 4 days later, $2,900 vanished from my checking account. Gone. Not a hold, not a mistake. I checked the transaction and my stomach dropped. I called. No one answered. Not my father, not my mother, not my sister. So I sent one message. Wait for a call from my lawyer. 10 minutes later, the family chat exploded. My sister Lily was screaming in voice messages, then my dad, then my mom, and my daughter. She sat quietly that night looking out toward the gate like someone still might show up, like someone still might remember her. I stood up and walked out. It was her 9th birthday. Not a milestone, not a big one, as my sister would later say, but to her it mattered. She'd been counting down since spring. She wanted a backyard party with balloons and a new basketball hoop. She wanted her cousins. She wanted her grandparents. She wanted family. We spent all Friday setting it up. My husband strung lights between the trees. I hung pastel streamers across the fence. The cake was cookies and cream, her favorite. I remember looking at it on the kitchen table, perfectly frosted, delicate piping around the edges, her name in big loopy letters, and thinking, this is going to be a good day. And it was. Sort of. 3 of her classmates came. Their parents stayed to chat. There was music playing through the little Bluetooth speaker she insisted on using, even though it distorted anything above volume 8. She laughed when she opened her gifts books, art supplies, a new hoodie with stars on the sleeves. If you walked past our fence, you'd think it was a happy birthday. But I saw her eyes. Every time the gate creaked open, her whole face would light up for a second. She'd look up from her cake or the chalk drawings or the basketball hoop, and then when it wasn't them, it dimmed again. And the worst part, no one even called. Not my parents. Not my sister. Not a single text saying they were running late. Not a single FaceTime or happy birthday, sweetheart, nothing. It was like she didn't exist. That night, after everyone left, we sat around the dining table, just the 3 of us. My husband lit the candles. He tried to keep the energy up, clapping and making silly faces. Our daughter smiled, but it was the kind of smile you wear because someone else needs you to. When she went to bed, she asked me, "Do you think they got stuck in traffic?" I said, "Maybe." She nodded. I bet Grandma had to work late. I didn't correct her. I just kissed her forehead and said, "You were perfect today." I waited until she was asleep. Then I opened our family group chat, and I typed, "Thanks for remembering your niece's birthday. She had a great time without you. They saw it." I could tell. You can always tell. But no one replied. Not until the next morning. Lily finally broke the silence with, "It's not like it was a big birthday. 9 isn't even a milestone." I just stared at the message. What do you even say to someone who thinks a child's joy is based on whether there's a 0 at the end of the number? It wasn't disappointment anymore. It was something quieter, something heavier. I didn't reply. I just made pancakes for my daughter, extra whipped cream, extra strawberries. But the silence had already planted something inside me, a kind of grief I didn't know how to name, a kind of anger I'd been swallowing for too many years. And by the time the next betrayal came just days later, I wasn't shocked. I was ready. Ready to stop being the wallet, the afterthought, the fixer, ready to stop shrinking to fit their comfort. Because the truth was, they weren't just absent. They were dangerous. And I was about to show them what it looks like when the one who always says yes finally says no. It was a Thursday afternoon when my phone buzzed. A text, "No," an alert from my bank. $2,900 withdrawn from your account. I blinked at it, confused. Thought maybe it was a glitch, or maybe a scheduled payment I forgot about. I opened the transaction. The merchant name looked familiar. My breath caught. It was the same plumbing company my dad had mentioned a week earlier. A week before the party, he'd called in a rush, said the pipes at their place had burst, that they needed an emergency fix. I'd been elbows deep in birthday prep and work deadlines, and when he said the plumber needed payment that day, I didn't hesitate. How much I asked. $600, he said quickly. I rattled off my card info. He thanked me, said it was just temporary. And in the haze of balloons and goodie bags and cake quotes, I forgot to ask for the card back. That part's on me. But what they did with it, that's on them. I called my dad. No answer. Called again. Nothing. Tried Lily. Straight to voicemail. I messaged the family group chat. Hey, did someone use my card for $2,900? Nothing. No reply, no confusion, no apology, just digital silence. So I sat down at the kitchen table, the same one where we'd cut the birthday cake 5 days earlier, and I typed one final message. Wait for a call from my lawyer. 10 minutes. That's all it took. Voice messages from Lily came first. Her voice high, frantic. What is wrong with you? Are you really threatening legal action against your own family? Then my dad. What the hell, Eliza? Don't be dramatic. We were gonna explain. My mom followed with a text. Don't do anything crazy. Please. Let's talk first. Explain what? 2 hours later, my dad showed up at my door, holding my credit card between 2 fingers like it was a peace treaty. No apology, no shame, no acknowledgement of what he'd done. Just a shrug and a line I'll never forget. We decided last minute to go to the Keys with some friends. Figured we'd use the card now and deal with it later. He said it like I'd understand. Like stealing nearly $3,000 was some harmless misstep. Like I was the problem for being upset. I looked at him, this man who used to carry me on his shoulders when I was little. This man who once sat next to me while I colored in birthday cards for him, and all I could feel was cold. I took the card. I said, we'll talk later, but there wasn't going to be a later. Something in me had snapped. No screaming, no storming, just stillness. A kind of resolve I'd never felt before, because I knew exactly who I was to them. I was the backup plan, the bailout fund, the fixer, and I was done. The next morning, I stared at my phone for a long time. I reread every message, every excuse, every silence. I thought about Lily, about how I'd been paying her rent $750 a month so she could stay in law school. My parents had asked me to cover it just for a semester. That was 18 months ago. They said she needed to focus, that I could handle it, that we all have to help each other. But it wasn't help. It was expectation, entitlement wrapped in guilt. So I called Lily's landlord, calmly, explained the situation, told him that starting next month she'd be responsible for her full rent. He didn't fight me, just said, okay, I'll let her know. Then I opened the family group chat, and I wrote, I'm no longer covering Lily's rent. She can speak to mom and dad if she needs help. No one replied for an hour. Then Lily called. I didn't answer. Then came the texts. My mom, you're being cruel. This isn't Lily's fault. Why are you punishing your sister for something your father did? But I wasn't punishing anyone. I was finally protecting someone, myself, and my daughter. I replied with one sentence. You had money for a vacation. I'm sure you'll figure out rent. And I muted the chat. 2 days of silence. Then Lily called again, crying. I still didn't pick up because I knew the truth. They weren't used to consequences, and they weren't ready for this lesson. But I was done being the chalkboard they wrote their mess on. From now on, I'd be the line they couldn't cross. After I cut off the rent, I didn't expect thanks. I wasn't naive, but I also didn't expect what came next. Lily messaged me nonstop for 2 days. At first she was polite. I know things are tense right now, but can we talk? Then came the desperation. Please, Eliza, I'm behind in class. I don't know how to manage this on my own. Then the guilt. This is going to ruin everything I've worked for. You're letting one mistake by them destroy everything. But the one that froze me wasn't angry or manipulative. It was this. If you cared about me even half as much as you care about your daughter, you wouldn't do this. And in that moment, it all snapped into focus. She wasn't asking. She was demanding as if love meant submission. As if my support was a service she was entitled to just by existing. That's when the family chat went dark. No more pleas, No more explanations. Just silence. Like they were waiting me out. Like they assumed I'd cave if they ignored me long enough. But I didn't. And the silence didn't scare me. It gave me space. 3 days passed like that. And then something unexpected. My aunt called. We hadn't spoken in months, maybe longer. She was awkward at first, said she hadn't meant to get involved, but then she said she'd stop by my parents' place to drop something off. They were clearing out that back room, she said, the one with your stuff, the comics. My blood ran cold. I drove over without calling. I still had a key. The driveway was empty. House quiet. I walked through the door like I was stepping into a stranger's home. I opened the door to the old guest room used to be mine and felt the air knock out of me. It was empty. The shelves, the labeled bins, the sealed plastic boxes, all gone. In the corner, a few broken-down cardboard boxes and a vacuum cleaner. That was it. My first edition comics, my carefully cataloged collection, the only real legacy I'd ever built with my hands as a kid. 20 years of memories, all gone. I texted my dad, "Where is my comic collection?" No reply. I called. Straight to voicemail. So I left one final message, calm, sharp. If you've sold or thrown away any part of that collection, I will never forgive you. That's not a threat, that's a fact. That night, he finally replied. A single text, "We needed the room. You never came to get it. It was collecting dust. Don't be dramatic. Not an apology. Not even a lie. Just complete dismissal. They knew what it was worth, not just in money, but in meaning. And they erased it anyway. Not by accident, but to punish me. Because I stopped playing their game. Because I said no. That's when it hit me. They weren't careless. They were calculated. They took what they knew I loved and destroyed it behind my back. And I realized I'd never truly seen them until that moment. Not my parents, not the people who raised me, but users. And this time, I wasn't just going to feel the loss. I was going to reclaim every last thing they'd taken. There was one more thing they still had, my car. A mid-sized SUV I'd loaned to my dad more than a year ago. His had broken down and he asked if he could borrow mine just for a few weeks. Weeks turned into months. Months into over a year. He changed the insurance address to theirs, parked it like it was his, but he never asked to keep it. I never signed over the title. And now it was mine again. I pulled out every file from our cabinet. Title, registration, insurance. All of it had my name on it. I called the DMV, transferred it back to my current address. Then I called the insurance company, removed him as an authorized driver. I arranged for a tow service to be on standby, and then I drove over. No call, no warning, just a key in my hand and fire in my chest. When I got there, I didn't knock. I walked straight to the driveway, opened the car with the spare key, and began pulling out every item that wasn't mine. My dad came outside holding a coffee cup like this was some sitcom misunderstanding. He laughed. "What are you doing? I didn't even look at him." Taking back my car. "You can't be serious," he said. "I need this." "You used it. Now I'm done." He scoffed. Over a bunch of old comics and birthday drama, I turned to him, looked him in the eye. "No, because you took from me and didn't think twice. You let your granddaughter sit alone on her birthday. You used my card without asking. Then you destroyed something that mattered to me. You don't get to have my things anymore." He raised his voice. "You'd throw away our relationship over this." I didn't answer. I got in the car, started the engine, and drove away. No tears, no slamming, no drama, just peace. But I wasn't done yet, because this wasn't just about me anymore. This was about showing my daughter what it looks like when a woman reclaims her life, one stolen piece at a time. I thought taking back the SUV would be the final straw. For a few days, everything went quiet. No calls, no texts, not even a passive-aggressive meme dropped in the family chat like Mom used to do when she wanted to break the ice without actually owning anything. Just silence, but not the peaceful kind. The kind of silence that stretches too long. The kind that feels like a breath held before impact. Then one evening, my husband came home from work holding a box. No return address, he said. But your name's on it, and it rattles. I felt something cold and sharp flicker in my chest. I took the box, turned it in my hands, plain cardboard sealed with cheap packing tape. My name scrawled across the top in familiar, messy black ink. My father's handwriting. It was too light to be heavy, too heavy to be empty. I sat at the kitchen table and opened it. Ash, burnt scraps, bits of paper curling at the edges like frightened animals. I dug gently, sifting through the damage. Comic covers. I recognized them even in pieces. X-Men #4, The Killing Joke, Detective Comics #475, and the rare Spider-Man crossover I won at auction in 2010. He hadn't just thrown my collection out, he had burned it. He'd cremated the last physical link I had to my childhood and mailed the ashes to me like a threat. No note, no context, just the remains of what he knew I loved most. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even touch the phone. I just stared at the ash like it was a stranger's body, like a piece of me had died and this was the funeral no one would ever attend. That night I didn't sleep. I lay next to my husband in the dark eyes wide staring at the ceiling. The image of that box burned behind my eyes. He said nothing, just reached over at one point and gently held my hand. It was enough. The next morning, I opened my laptop and logged into the app for the Lexus. They still used the one I'd bought outright years ago and handed over when their old car gave out. I had never signed over the title. It was still mine legally and financially. They had forgotten that. I hadn't. I shut off their remote access, called the insurance company, called the tow company, scheduled pickup. By 6:00 p.m., the car was gone. By 6:42, my phone rang. Dad. This time I answered. He didn't say hello, didn't ask how I was, didn't mention the comics. He launched straight into rage. What the hell is wrong with you? You had no right. No right to take the Lexus. You're unstable, ungrateful, embarrassing the family. You're trying to destroy what little we have left. I listened, let him spiral. And when he finally stopped long enough to breathe, I said, "You're not well, and I'm not playing along anymore." There was silence, the kind that buzzes in your ear. Then, "So that's it. After everything I've done for you, I didn't hesitate. Yes, that's exactly it." He hung up. I stared at the screen. No missed calls followed, no texts, no guilt-tripping emojis or sudden pleas, just silence again. But this time, it didn't feel like tension. It felt like peace. 2 days passed. No one from the family reached out. Then Lily called. I almost didn't answer. My hand hovered over the screen for 3 full rings, but something in my gut said, "This isn't like the others." So I picked up. Her voice was quiet, raw. "I know everything's broken," she said, "and I know I didn't stop them when I should have." There was a pause. I could hear her breathing, shaky and unsure. Then she said, "I didn't know they were going to burn the comics. I found out after, and I didn't even know how to reach out. I thought you'd block me, or worse, never speak to me again." She wasn't defending them. She wasn't defending herself, just telling the truth. She said she didn't have anyone else, that they never helped her. Not with rent, not with tuition, not with food, just expectations and judgments. She'd kept me out of the picture because she was embarrassed, because she thought asking me again would make her just like them. Then she added, "I'm not asking for anything. I just needed you to know I'm not them. I swear to you, I'm not." I didn't respond right away. My throat was tight. Then I asked, "How much is your rent?" $750, she whispered, "but you'll have it tomorrow." There was no thank you, no tears, just a long, quiet exhale. "I'll pay you back," she said. "I don't know when, but I will." "It's not about the money," I replied. And we both understood what I meant. She hadn't come with blame. She hadn't tried to gaslight me. She'd just shown up, as herself, for once. Not perfect, but honest. And that mattered more than any apology I'd never gotten from the rest of them. A few weeks passed. Lily kept her word. She sent her rent receipts like it was a contract she had to prove every month. She checked in once or twice a week, never with excuses or guilt, just updates, honesty. Sometimes we didn't talk about money at all, just classes, stress, the weather. I think we both knew we were rebuilding something. Not a sisterhood from childhood, not the fake closeness our family performed. Something new, something real. And then one quiet afternoon, a letter arrived. Handwritten. No return address. Just my name in delicate cursive on the front of the envelope. I knew the handwriting instantly. My grandfather. My dad's dad. We hadn't spoken in years, not out of anger, just distance. He'd moved out west after Grandma passed. Our contact had dwindled to Christmas cards and maybe a stiff birthday call once a year. I wouldn't have guessed he even knew what happened, but apparently a cousin saw something Lily posted. A cryptic caption about family unraveling and truth refusing to stay buried. That was all it took to light the match. The letter was a page and a half. Every word hit harder than anything my parents had ever said to me because every word was real. He said he was proud of me. Said he knew my father had always worn masks even as a child, that he'd seen him manipulate and gaslight and rewrite history, and that it had only gotten worse with age. He wrote, "What you did, standing up for yourself and your daughter, that's strength, Eliza. Most people live their whole lives without ever saying no to the people who hurt them the most." He said he wished he'd had the same courage. Near the end, he added, "I've got a spare room. If you ever need space to breathe, you're welcome here. No questions, no judgment." He left his number. I didn't call right away. I didn't even cry. I just sat with the letter, reread it 5 times, folded it carefully, and slid it into my drawer where it stayed for weeks, its edges softening like something sacred. It cracked something open in me I didn't know was closed. This weight, this numbness I'd been carrying, thinking maybe all family was like this, that maybe blood always meant pain with paperwork, but not him, not everyone. Maybe I hadn't lost my whole family, just the wrong parts. The holidays came and went. No calls, no texts, no invitations. My mom posted a photo of their Christmas dinner on Facebook. Just her and my dad posed in front of a rented fireplace. 2 wine glasses, matching sweaters. The caption read, "Peace and gratitude." I didn't comment, didn't like, didn't let it touch me. My daughter saw it when she borrowed my phone to play music. She looked up. "Are Grandma and Grandpa coming this year?" I paused. "No, baby. They're not." She stared at the photo, then at me. Why, I crouched beside her gently, took the phone out of her hand. Sometimes I said grown-ups don't know how to be kind, even to the people they're supposed to love. She thought about that. Then she whispered, "That's sad." I nodded. "It is." We made dinner together, just the 3 of us. Nothing fancy, just warm rolls, her favorite mashed potatoes, and a roast my husband spent hours making. After we ate, she opened her presents, a book about space, a telescope, a stuffed bear in a red sweater. She smiled, really smiled, the kind that fills a room. My husband caught it on camera. Later that night, I looked at that photo, and I realized this is what healing looks like. Not revenge, not dramatic speeches or court orders, just a child laughing without waiting by a gate, just a mother breathing without waiting for the next emotional hit, just peace. Not perfect, but enough. It didn't feel like I'd slammed the door. It felt like I'd quietly locked it, and for the first time, I didn't feel guilty. I felt safe. That night, I sat on the porch with my husband. It was cold, the air thick with the kind of stillness only winter can carry. He passed me a mug of tea and said, "You've changed." I looked at him. For better or worse, he smiled. For real. And I think that's all I ever wanted. Not to win, not to hurt them back, just to be real. To be loved without bleeding first. To exist without being drained. Tomorrow I'll call my grandfather. I don't know what I'll say yet, but I know this. That letter he sent, it didn't just offer a room, it offered something I'd spent my whole life searching for. A family that sees you, a love that doesn't need to be earned. The other day, I finally called my grandfather. The letter had been sitting in my drawer like a lifeline I wasn't sure I deserved to reach for, worn at the corners, reread more times than I'd admit. When he answered, he just said my name, Eliza. No expectation, no judgment, no heavy silence waiting to be filled with apologies or justifications, just warmth. We talked for nearly an hour, not about the firestorm I'd walked through or the ash they mailed me like a threat. He didn't bring up my parents. He didn't need to. He asked about my job, about my daughter, what she was into these days. Planets, I said, smiling, and telescopes. She wants to name a star. He chuckled. Tell her to pick a bright one. The world needs more of those. He reminded me of something I hadn't felt in years, connection without strings. Love that didn't require proof of suffering first. Before we hung up, he said, that room's still open, you know, if you ever need space to breathe. I thanked him, not just for the room, but for seeing me, for reminding me that not all roots rot, that some go deep and kind and survive the drought. That night, after our daughter went to bed, I sat on the porch again with my husband. Same chair, same soft buzz of the neighborhood settling into sleep. He looked at me, then nodded toward the screen door. She's noticing, he said. Noticing what you laugh more now. It hit me harder than I expected, because he was right. I do laugh more. I eat slower. I sleep deeper. I don't jump when the phone buzzes. I don't rehearse conversations in my head anymore, trying to craft the version of me they'd find easiest to ignore. I just am. And that feels revolutionary. My husband started leaving sticky notes on the bathroom mirror and tucked in books I was reading. Proud of you. You're doing the hard thing. She's lucky to have you, she being our daughter. And in those little notes, I saw what real family looks like. Quiet consistency, support without spectacle, a home that doesn't require me to shrink in order to fit. The holidays passed without them. No surprise visits, no guilt-laced texts. Just that photo from Mom, her and Dad smiling like nothing had ever happened. Their caption read, "Peace and gratitude." But I had the real version. It wasn't a performance. It was our daughter wrapped in a fuzzy blanket on Christmas morning, reading under her telescope's glow. It was my husband leaning against the doorframe, coffee in hand, mouthing, "This is everything." And he was right. That moment, her smile, the silence that held no tension, that was everything. Not revenge, not retribution, just healing. I used to think setting boundaries was an act of war. That saying no would make me the villain, the selfish one, the ungrateful child. But sometimes no is the most loving thing you can say to yourself. No, you can't borrow my peace. No, you can't guilt me into bleeding again. No, I won't hand over pieces of myself just so you don't have to feel uncomfortable. And as hard as it was, I stopped waiting for their version of love to make sense. Because it never will. They didn't love me. They loved access to me. My money, my time, my silence. And when I stopped giving those things, they stopped pretending. I didn't lose my family. I just lost the lie. I still help Lily, not because I owe her, but because she showed up differently. She didn't demand. She didn't scream. She just said, "I'm not them." And she meant it. She sends me her receipts every month, still walking gently, still proving maybe to herself more than to me that she's learning what it means to not be like them. Sometimes we talk about school, sometimes about nothing at all, but we talk. And in this broken, charred aftermath, that feels like something worth rebuilding. I don't know if I'll ever see my parents again. I'm not angry anymore, just done. They wrote their apology in ash. They mailed it in a box, hoping to end something. And they did. But not the way they thought. They ended the version of me that kept showing up for pain. And I'm grateful for that in a strange, sad way. Because now I show up for me. And for the girl who once waited by the gate, clutching her birthday gift, scanning every car that drove by. She'll never have to wait like that again, because she saw her mother walk away from the fire and choose peace instead. because she saw what it looks like to survive heartbreak and still build love with your own two hands. Because now every birthday she has, she knows who's showing up. Not the people who forgot her, but the woman who never will. Have you ever been the one who always said yes until you couldn't anymore share your story below? I see you, and so do others. And if this hit home, don't forget to subscribe. Not just for more stories like this, but to remind yourself you're allowed to choose peace, even if it means locking the door forever.